On to the first test drive now with the RS3 with the springs and spacers. Moment of truth. How well do I get out of the driveway? Let's see how low the car looks on the curb here. All right, no scraping. We are doing good. Look at the RS3 with that stance. Nice and low. However, we got like 4 inches of ground clearance, I would say. And then even in the center, not bad at all. So that is sweet to see. This thing already has a lot of ground clearance in the stock configuration. So nice to see that with it lowered, which by the way, the ground is right there. Nice to see that the car is still gonna be pretty darn drivable. So if you missed the last 2 RS3 videos, I installed the H&R 10mm front wheel spacers and the H&R 15mm rear spacers along with their sport springs, which lowered the car 1 inch in all 4 corners. So today's video, basically I'm going to review this new setup, the stance, the handling, all those improvements. If you do own an Audi RS3 or the Audi S3, take a look at our website, linked down below. We carry all these products on our site, and I've used the H&R springs and spacers on my Supras, GTR as well, and our old S3. So I've always been very happy with the benefits that they give the car. So first and foremost, first initial impressions driving the car, it feels a lot lower, which is nice. I think the new RS3, given like just the design of it, this car always felt a little bulky. That was something my wife and I weren't the biggest fan of. It just felt a little bulky. Not that it's gonna come off on camera, but driving in it, this just feels like I'm lower and more hunkered down to the ground, which is a big plus. It just feels a little bit more shrunken around me, given I can feel that the car is a little bit lower. So let's go to the RS Performance. Wake up that, gosh, this thing's rowdy now. Wake up that exhaust. Man, I will say under just a first slow acceleration, the car already feels a little bit more tight. We're gonna rip on it more. We'll change the camera angle so I can get on it more. But already there, just the car felt better. Something about it already feels a little bit better. Cool thing is with lowering springs, since this car has the adaptive suspension, in comfort mode right now, the car is nice, comfortable, and normal. I'm still gonna retain all of the fun stuff if I go into RS Performance or dynamic mode. The car is still gonna get that stiffer suspension. So now it's a little bit stiffer, of course a little bit more darty. So you retain all that factory stuff, giving your car still the better ride height versus if you just did coilovers where you delete all the cool factory features. So loving that already. Let's take a look at the car and then we'll rip on it a little bit more. So taking a look, as you can tell, the car stance is so nice. The stock wheels and tires, they fit so flush now within the fenders. And as you saw me getting out of the driveway, I don't think I'm gonna have any ground clearance issues. This car has a lot of clearance stock, so lowering it 1 inch really isn't gonna affect it in any negative way. And then the wheel spacers got it to where the wheels just fill out the fenders so well. Taking another close look, one thing about this car, the grille is massive. It's kind of taken a little bit to grow on us. However, with the stance now dialed in, I feel like it almost makes the grille look more aggressive and actually fill out the car. These front fenders are really wide, and with the suspension and everything dialed in like that, they really are emphasized now. You notice them in line with the tire, and I think that helps the blue pop out more than just seeing this massive grille. So this stance really makes the car look so much better. Hopefully it comes off on camera, but the car honestly looks 10 times better the way that sits right there. That just looks insane. And if we get close to it, you can see how the wheels are nice and flush to those fenders, exactly where you want it to look. And then the wheel gap is spot on. It's not too low to look like the wheels are tiny. It's just like the perfect setup. Absolutely loving that. And then seeing the rear, once again, perfectly flush fitment. They just look so good the way it is set up. And honestly, this isn't even an expensive upgrade to do for the car. Under $1,000 you can get the spring spacers and of course the extended wheel bolts. But comment below, what do you guys think? The RS3 stance, that is perfect. That is perfect how this car should have come from the factory. Of course they have regulations they have to follow, so they got to be sunken inwards, a certain amount of ride height or whatever. But car's looking great. Now let's see if it's going to perform as good as it looks. Alright, so my impressions going back into the comfort mode. Like I mentioned, you're going to retain all of your adaptive suspension. So in comfort mode, it feels pretty much like normal. I will say it feels slightly stiffer, but it still absorbs the bumps like normal. You just feel maybe the road contours just a little bit more, which I like. It's not like it makes it any more backbreaking. The car just feels a bit more stable, which is a big plus. So going out to RS Performance mode, you can definitely tell body roll is significantly less, and this is just a small turn. We got a quicker turn coming up. But one thing with the handling and steering in this car stock, I'm not the biggest fan of it. The steering feels a little vague in the stock configuration with everything else stock. It just feels like you turn and it's a variable steering rack, so it's kind of weird. So let's do another acceleration. This thing definitely is already waking up with the intake exhaust and now these springs and spacers, but getting on it. There is no acceleration squat whatsoever. Slowing down. This car's aggressive in performance mode for sure. But yeah, accelerating, there's no squat or anything slammed on the brakes. There's no brake dive either. So already that stability has drastically improved. Sounds so good. Alright, so cornering abilities. The car definitely feels a lot flatter. Wow, that actually changes a lot. There used to be just a little bit of body roll even in the RS Performance mode. I'll have to turn around because of course I have a slow car now in front of me. But already that's making a nice difference where the car feels more hunkered down. That is cool to see. And then once again, you go into comfort mode, obviously the car tones down, but the suspension is back to just being a luxury Audi. This car, the new RS3, has a lot of the Audi in it to where it feels like a luxury car. It feels pretty darn refined, especially for its price point. It better feel like that. But you can definitely feel some nice refinements with this car where it feels a lot nicer than the old one. The old one's a great car. I do like how our old S3 handled. It just felt a little bit more mechanical and direct. But this car is starting to get there with the few mods, so I'm liking that a lot. Even in comfort mode though, it still handles pretty nice. And then back into RS Performance, you can definitely feel the little tiny bumps in the road a little bit sharper, so it gives you that extra feedback. Feels more like darty. Oh wow. Honestly, that is drastically different. The steering feels a little bit quicker too, given we have a wider track all around now. I feel like in the stock configuration, given the front tires are wider and they're almost 3 inches wider as far as their track width goes, the rears just kind of felt like they were along for the ride, even though there's a rear drivetrain. So I feel like this just makes it to where that lower center of gravity, given the wider track, the lower center of gravity giving the actual lower ride height now, and the little bit stiffer spring rate, it definitely makes the car feel more hunkered down. The steering feels a little quicker, a little bit more responsive, and the suspension seems to be limiting body roll a little bit better, to where the car feels more hunkered down and more stable. Wow, that's awesome. I did the same setup on my Toyota Supra, and it was a drastic improvement. Higher speeds, that car felt more stable. Taking the quick turns, once again, the stability. Oh yeah. Yeah, this car just feels so much tighter now. Literally the steering has improved a lot, which was our biggest complaint. I hated the stock steering, but with the suspension and spacers, it just feels a little better. It still has a little bit of that weird feeling to it, but it is drastically better. That is so cool. There's definitely more suspension things I could do to this. Sway bars, maybe upgrade the front sway bar end links because they're just like cheap metal. So there's other things we could probably do to this to dial it in, but already that is feeling really good. Like no brake dive, no squat, just handles a lot better. And going back into comfort mode, you hardly can tell. I can still feel like I'm lower, but that'll probably wear off after a couple times driving the car. But it still gives you the luxuries and the refinements you're going to want in a car like this, all the normal things. You still get all the adjustments with your drive modes. And then, man, when you crank it up into the fun modes, let's just do dynamic and see what that's like. Yeah, the steering is so much better, and just the overall sharpness is so cool. All right, another slow car. Oh yeah. All right, well I think if you are looking to upgrade the handling of your car and you're not looking to go crazy and you don't want to delete all the awesome factory settings, lowering springs honestly are a great way to go. I think with cars that have the factory adaptive suspension, that is such a good option, because if I did coilovers, I lose a lot of the features that are in this car, which really make the car really good. So a good set of lowering springs definitely does the trick. 1-inch drop is perfect. It gives you a good look without being too low. I'm not a fan of having a slammed car on the ground where you smack everything, you scrape like crazy. I think that ruins the driving experience and it looks kind of bad, honestly. You don't want to do, crappy modifications to a car like this. You want it to be nicely done, and this setup is very, very nicely done. Let's do one more acceleration. But man, the car just accelerates so flat. That is a big difference from stock. Wow. I'm loving it. This is a great setup for sure. If you have an RS3, check out the link down below. We carry these on our site, and honestly, I'm a firm believer this is like the best first step to dialing in your suspension. Later on, of course, you could do more aggressive offset wheels or something if you want to go that route. But with the stock wheels, just doing a nice set of spacers gives you everything you could need. And it's no different than if these wheels had a little more aggressive offset. So they're perfectly safe to run on your car since they're hub-centric and very high quality. And really no downfalls with this setup. It's affordable, easy to install, and the handling benefits are totally there. The benefits of the better looking stance are there. What more could you ask for? We'll finish it up with one more acceleration, because when you got an active exhaust, what more would you want? Sharp turn. Nice and tight. So that is going to wrap it up now. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you all in the next video.